Hello, welcome back to the garden. It's the first week of August and it's pretty much peak production here, so I thought I'd do a little update. It's also blisteringly hot, so I'm going to keep this brief. It's been so hot and sunny this year that the polytunnel, I think, has been pretty much unnecessary, really. The big advantage of the polytunnel was it gave us a big head start at the beginning of the season, which we started late anyway, probably several weeks late in fact. Since then, it's just been such a hot summer that the outside plants down here have done pretty much as well as the ones here. The exciting news is that we've got some ripe tomatoes and that's significant because I haven't been able to ripen tomatoes here for at least 12 years or so. They did well the first couple of years and then they started to get blight, and that seemed to hang around, and then every time I was growing tomatoes, either they just didn't ripen, they just stubbornly stayed green right to the end of the season, and then it just got too cold for them, which I put down to the green plastic on the other polytunnel, or if I tried them outside they would either just not ripen or they'd get blight again and all the leaves would go bad, and it's just downhill from there on in. And that blight seemed to spread to the potatoes as well. So for a few years I'd stopped growing tomatoes and potatoes, try and clear it out of the area, clear the blight out of the area. And that seems to be successful. Or I've just got lucky, or whatever, but we've now got red tomatoes. As you can see, both doors in the polytunnel are open and it's still sweltering in here, absolutely sweltering. Which for most of these plants is a good thing. Here's the exciting stuff. This is the Cauliflower tomatoes. A very nice tomato, and it's actually hot. Yes, it tasted like it was a fried tomato. It's an unusual tomato because it all goes out all over the place, and you're not supposed to take out the side trusses like this, which you normally do on what I call a standard tomato plant like this. Over here, this is the traditional moneymaker tomato, and it's nowhere near ripe, although there are plenty of big tomatoes on it. Let's try one of these then. That was nice. Crikey, I'm sweating. So in this pot, 2 tomato plants and an aubergine. I was going to put this on the patio, I didn't get around to it. And you can see the aubergine is flowering away there, but it needed its own pot really, this plant. It turns out aubergines are bigger plants than I thought they would be. Got pretty flower on it though. So these are the capsicums. And as you can see, the flowers have turned into fruits quite happily. And so we've got some bell peppers emerging there, and there's a little one just coming out. So yeah, I think every capsicum plant is now fruiting. Here we've got the chili peppers, and I don't think there's any, there's no actual peppers just yet, but they are flowering. So should be fairly imminent. Oh, right, I'm getting out of here. Oh, it's hot in there. Right then, Struve. Wait a sec. Oh yeah. So we'll have a quick look at the outside versions of the same plants. We've got aubergine. Cauliflower tomatoes again, and some of those are very nearly ripe. Oh no, that one is ripe. It's there. That was red. It's a real treat to be able to take sun-ripened tomatoes straight off the plant when they're fully ripened, in their fully ripened state. It reminds me of when I was a youngster and I was working out in Australia, out in the outback, on a tomato growing operation. Those tomatoes were harvested when they were like this, properly green and inedible, and then they'd ripen on their way to the wherever they were going to be sold. My job was to go and collect all the irrigation after the harvest had happened, and so I was the only person that could actually pick red tomatoes. When the harvesters went through, they weren't allowed to pick red tomatoes because they wouldn't stay ripe long enough. So yeah, I used to just get sacks of the things and then take them back to the workers' hostel where I was staying and swap them with other people for other things. And now I can grow my own. Right, let's have a look at the other beds, the main beds. You can probably see behind me, change in view. You can now see the barn and the workshop, whereas before all you could see was that willow hedge. So what I do with that willow hedge is cut it down once a year, which I did a few days ago. Me and Becky tackled that.
Loads, isn't it? You must know what it was because you planted it. Do you have a name on them?
It was like assorted lovely bulbs or something. It's quite a mission to do it that way, but by only doing it once a year, I cut it all down like that. It'll sprout up again, and then when the leaves go, with this particular variety, the stems turn red in the autumn, and it just gives you something, something nice to look at when all the leaves are falling off the trees. Here in bed number 1, you can see that the second earlies have actually gone over. So those potato plants are done. That's as good as they're going to get. And I've been digging them up and eating them. And they're great. Let's have a closer look. Now these are quite interesting potatoes. Well, as far as potatoes go. So they're called estimas. And I didn't really get to choose them because by the time I got to get some seed potatoes, there wasn't much choice left in the place where I was getting them from. This was just before lockdown, so I was happy to find some seed potatoes at all, and I just grabbed what I could, which is why I got second earlies and main crop. Just what was there really. So these estimas turn out to be really good for roasting. I mean, they're a lovely roasted potato, in my opinion, and I had these mashed last night and they were great for that too. Where I found they're not so good is jacket potatoes because there's hardly any skin on them. So they don't make great jacket potatoes. Other than that, top spuds. Right, this is of course the Brassica Bed. Now these plants were doing so well that they were lifting off the mesh that was on top of them. The mesh was there to protect them mainly from the cabbage white. You can see one's just turned up on cue. Have a go. It was also there to stop the chickens going in and eating the young plants. Now the plants were growing so well that they actually pushed their way up and started popping the net off the staples that were holding it in, and we decided just to take the net off. It's not needed at the moment.
Maybe we'll find some eggs in there. They're laying somewhere.
Look at the kale. I mean, it was only a month ago. We were like, oh, can we start eating the kale yet?
Yeah,
and now
no, it's crazy.
we've got kale trees.
Well, it's like the chard that just went all of a sudden.
The nice thing about ramming them together like this is that you don't get much in the way of weeds. So that's one time I hoed this.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, I've gone in a couple of times, just taken out the odd. Well, bindweed is what I've been trying to.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. This calabrese has done so well, it's ready right now. Yeah. Well, this one is, and that one is, and that one, oh crikey, we're going to be eating a lot of broccoli. It was mainly there to protect from the butterflies and from the chickens, but really the chickens can help themselves now. The butterflies aren't going to do any harm. The plants are so strong and vibrant and so big, and the chickens, being mini little bantams, can only reach so high, so they can help themselves. There's way more going on here than we can actually eat. This is supposed to be autumn calabrese, and when we took the cover off a couple of days ago, it was already ready to eat, and I've been eating broccoli with just about every meal since then, and I hardly made a dent in it. And you can see that this one here and this one here, the first plants in the row, they're already going to flower. So yeah, they've already gone over. It's crazy. This is so early, but yeah, not complaining. Normally at this time I'd still be expecting to eat the kale, but I've had to stop eating kale in order to get on with eating the broccoli. The kale though is invaluable during the winter. Kale will keep going all winter long, even when it's, you can come out here and pick kale even when it's frosty, even when there's snow. It's a great winter vegetable. Obviously it's not going to do any growing in the winter, but it doesn't die either, unlike most of the plants. So somewhere in here we've planted some cauliflower. Yeah, this is the cauliflower here. Apart from it being a bit hot, it looks like it's growing in a polytunnel. That one's doing really well. There's another one over there. Yeah, the cauliflowers that are in here are doing really well. We had a few leftover cauliflower plants, so we couldn't fit in the proper brassica bed, and so I just chucked them in here. And I'll show you a close-up of the contrast between the ones that were under the mesh and the ones that were out in the open. And they did have this fence around them, so it's not the chickens that have eaten them. This is either pigeons flying down and eating them or caterpillars. In the rest of bed number 3 here, which is kind of like the everything else bed, as I think of it, things are progressing nicely. So do excuse the fact I'm in my beach wear. Obviously normally I dress up for my YouTube videos, but today it's just too hot. It really is. Anyway, back to the plants. Here then you can see some rows of leeks. Finally got those planted out. So there's leeks there, leeks there, leeks there, and then leeks there and leeks there. They look pretty healthy. In between the leeks I planted some carrots, because you can see here the first lot of carrots that we planted. There's a couple left, but we've eaten most of those. So we've got new carrots coming through there. Here too we've got another row of new carrots. The broad beans that really didn't look like they were going to do much, they came through in the end. Obviously they're going over now and the leaves are going a bit rusty, but the beans are all there, and yeah, I've been chucking those in the meals I've been making. Here we've got some peas. Now these are funny peas, these. They're these huge great peas, and when they're smaller than this they're really nice. And when they get this big, not so much. My mum's given me a different variety of peas, some which you're supposed to eat as mange too, in their cases and all. And I'll give those a try next year. Still got the beetroot. Yeah, turns out one row was plenty. And these are onions coming through. I'm not quite sure how big these are going to get. This is the first time I've ever tried growing onions from seed. And yeah, I can't even remember what variety they were. But they look healthy nonetheless. And towards the end we've got some other peas on the go. These look alright. Oh, they've got quite big too. And I had some tomato plants that I didn't have pots for, so I stuck those out here just to see what they do, and they've actually done really well, which makes me think that the pots that those ones are in are too small, because planted out in the bed, yeah, they've robbed along. Of course, had it been a rainy summer, out here on the outside, they wouldn't have done very well at all. So yeah, it's a bit of a gamble. And then on the end we've got beans. Now you might remember that I had to put a sort of tent over the beans because the pigeons were getting so ferocious on them. Once we did that, they got underway a bit, and once the plants became, you know, properly healthy, matured into adult plants, I suppose you call it, we could take that off, and then Becky whipped up a series of CDs here, and the beans are now protected by 100 plant samples, amongst other top tunes of the 90s. We're now down at bed number 4, which is squash, and as you can see, there's plenty of squash. The courgettes did their usual thing of just going completely mental for a bit, but they've seemed to have started to slow right down now. There are a few new ones coming through, but much slower than they were. A few weeks ago, yeah, you turn your back and pretty much overnight they turn into these things. I find you can still eat them like this, and they do keep for ages, but yeah, the bigger they get, the less taste they have, and the more you've got to use butter and garlic and things like that to, yeah, make it a bit more, put a bit of flavour in, I suppose. The rest of the squash is pumpkins and butternut squash. These ones here are spilled over out of the bed, and you can see they're pretty substantial. I'm pretty sure these are going to go orange. At least that's what I ordered. Butternut squash, no sign of it. It's done terribly this year. Planted about half and half of pumpkins and butternut squash in the main part of this bed. No sign of the butternut squash at all. And normally, like I say in every episode here, it's normally one of my most reliable crops, so that's really odd. And I had quite a lot of people comment on the video saying that they too have struggled with butternut squash this year, so no idea what that's about. Hopefully next year it'll do better. But nonetheless, a big crop of pumpkins on the way, and I do actually eat the pumpkins, and not just for decoration. These should be the Halloween type pumpkins. I also make pumpkin soup with them, and they do reasonably well for a risotto, that sort of thing as well. In this patch, after a very slow start, the Bright Lights chard has really gotten underway. It's looking a bit wilty in this midday sun, but healthy plants there, and Becky is making the most of it. I say it because I've tried it and I'm not keen on chard, it makes my teeth go funny. But yeah, so there's plenty of it for them, and we've also got some kale, as if we don't have enough kale in the main brassica bed. Again, this will come into its own over winter when all the other plants just give up. Well, that'll do us, I think. I just wanted to give a quick little update on what the garden looks like and its moment of peak production, which in fairness was probably about a week ago, but yeah, it's better late than never. I think there probably won't be an update for a while in the garden. I don't want to start boring people with it, and the whole idea of this series was not to be a tutorial on gardening at all, but to inspire people who are maybe thinking about it to possibly have a go. And I personally find it really rewarding to grow vegetables along with all the other things I do, just because it's, I think, just a small effort and quite a large reward. There's also the other issue of food security, you know, and this year particularly that's hit home. I mean, somebody commented on one of the videos saying that watching me gardening made them grateful for shops and civilization or something along those lines. And I thought, yes, fair enough, but you know, there was a time just this year when the shops didn't have any food, so it's not beyond possibility that will come around again. I found, in a practical sense, what's really nice right now is that I've been able to reduce my weekly shop to going like once a fortnight or so, because all my vegetables, all my fresh food is coming from here. So if I buy a bit of flour as well, I can make bread. I don't really have a need for fresh goods at the supermarket. I can just go there every few weeks and buy like rice, pasta, you know, staples like that and tinned goods, and I can get by with fewer supermarket visits, which for me that's very much a good thing. I'm not that keen on going to the supermarket. Anyway, I hope it's been of some interest. I hope some people out there have been inspired to give it a shot. It was something I poo-pooed my whole adult life until I got to middle age. and now I quite like it, so there you go. Anyway, I'm going to go and find some shade and cool down a bit, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers!